"I've wanted this since the night you yelled at me," he said, "and I hated you for it." Hello everyone. What happens when a line is crossed that can never be uncrossed? When a forbidden attraction ignites in the one place it never should have. Before we delve into this complicated and heart-wrenching story, if you believe some boundaries are too sacred to be broken, press 1 in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next story. Let's begin. His hand gripped the edge of the sink behind me, breath hitting the side of my face fast and uneven. My back arched involuntarily as he pushed in deeper, slower, a low groan catching in his throat. I gasped when his angle shifted a pressure, blooming where it hadn't meant to, and I felt him freeze. I didn't mean to, he breathed out, already trembling against me. My hands grabbed the edge of the counter. I should have pulled away. Instead, I whispered, "It's okay, just stay like that." His jaw clenched against my shoulder. He tried to ease out, but I wrapped around him tighter. "Don't," I said, breath ragged. "Let it stay." He exhaled through his nose, burying his face into the side of my neck, and I felt it again. That trembling, that ache, that weight. Like he couldn't believe I was letting him stay inside me after everything. He moved not fast, not deep, just enough to keep us joined. His breath hitched again when I moaned without meaning to. I was the one who screamed at him earlier, called him irresponsible, careless, immature, and now I was the one pulling him closer, letting him press into places that weren't meant to be touched. Letting him stay even when it pushed too far. His arms wrapped around my waist, holding me there, holding himself together. His voice cracked against my skin. "I'm sorry." I closed my eyes. "I'm not. This didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like surrender." I told myself I'd never go there, and then I felt his breath on my neck. "He's my daughter's fiancé." That's the part I haven't said out loud, the part that's kept me up at night long before this ever happened. His name is Leo. He's 27, taller than her, quieter, and for the past 3 months, he's been staying in our guest room while their new place gets renovated. At least that was the excuse. "Just a couple weeks, Mum," my daughter had said. "You barely use the downstairs anyway." I didn't argue. I didn't realize how often I'd see him barefoot in the kitchen, hair wet from his morning shower, mumbling thank you when I made coffee for myself and accidentally poured a second cup. I didn't mean for any of it to start, but I also didn't mean to yell at him that night. It was something small. He left the dryer door open again. I tripped on it carrying groceries and cursed out loud. He rushed in from the hallway, all flushed and apologetic, but I'd already snapped. "You're a guest in this house, Leo. Could you act like it for once?" He didn't talk back. He never does. He just stared at me, breathing a little harder than normal. Then he said the one thing I didn't expect. "You only talk to me when you're mad. Is that the only version of me you can handle?" That made me freeze. Because it was true. I didn't know how to deal with how kind he was, how careful, how he never looked away too fast or too long, how he left folded dish towels on the counter like he was trying to prove he was useful, how he always smelled like clean laundry and cedar. I don't remember walking toward him. I just remember the way he looked down when I stepped too close, and how his breath caught when I didn't back away. "I don't know what you think this is," I'd said, but I was the one shaking. He didn't reach for me, not at first. His voice was soft. "You look at me like you hate that I'm here." I swallowed. "Maybe I do." His gaze dropped. "Then tell me to leave." I didn't. I walked past him into the laundry room. Didn't say a word, but I heard him follow. That's how it started. The kiss was quiet, almost clumsy. I didn't stop it. I didn't stop him when his hands reached for my hips. I didn't stop myself when I unbuttoned his jeans with hands that should have been pushing him away. When he lifted me onto the sink counter and slid in, I didn't flinch. But when he pushed wrong, too deep, too angled, something in me clenched. A gasp left my lips before I could pull it back. He stilled immediately, guilt written across his whole body. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." I said, "Stay." His eyes met mine, wide, unsure. "Just stay." I repeated softer now. So he did, and I let it happen, because it had been years since I felt that wanted. That full, that afraid. What would you do if your daughter's fiancé kissed you first? Would you stop if he whispered your name and you didn't hate the way it sounded? Would you pull away when he trembled inside you and apologized? Or would you whisper, "Just stay," and let it all go? I used to be someone people listened to, at work, at home. My opinion mattered, my voice filled rooms. Then somewhere between my daughter's teenage years and my husband's third startup, I disappeared. Not all at once. It was quiet, like fog swallowing a house. Slowly, every wall of mine went quiet. Dinner became a rotation of silence. The only time my husband noticed my outfit was if I wore something too nice, and he'd say, "What's the occasion?" I stopped wearing lipstick. Then heels, then the perfume I used to dab behind my ears, just because I liked how it made me feel, even alone. My daughter noticed once. "You okay, Mom?" she asked, halfway through pouring cereal. "I'm fine," I told her, because that's what we're trained to say. Leo was supposed to be temporary. I didn't know much about him, only that he worked in design, didn't like pickles, and had proposed to my daughter at a beach I'd never been to. They were planning a quiet wedding after the remodel. My daughter was in love, or she thought she was. He moved into the guest room with 2 duffel bags and a box of sketch pads. Always polite, always out of the way, the kind of man who asked where to put his shoes. Who brought in groceries without being told. Who said, "Excuse me," even when he didn't need to. At first I thought he was fake, putting on a show. But then I realized he was just quiet, observant, and he noticed things, little things, like how I flinched when the oven timer beeped too loud. How I rubbed my shoulder when no one else was looking. How I always cleared my throat before speaking at dinner, like I was asking permission. He didn't ask about it. He just noticed. One morning he knocked on my office door gently and said, "You left your coffee on the counter." I hadn't realized I'd made one. He handed it to me with both hands. His fingers brushed mine. He didn't pull back right away. I thanked him, closed the door slowly, and leaned against it for a full minute, my hand still warm from his touch. It didn't feel wrong then. It felt like being remembered. It built slowly, moments stitched together. I'd walk into the living room to find him fixing the throw pillows my daughter always left in a pile. He'd glance up and smile just a little, and I'd pretend I wasn't looking. He cooked dinner twice when she was working late. Nothing elaborate: grilled chicken, sautéed greens, brown rice, but the portions were perfect. The kitchen spotless. He left the plate, covered for me with a note. "Didn't want you to eat alone again." He never made it romantic. That's what made it worse, or better, I don't even know anymore. It was the day I yelled that changed everything. I was already wound tight. Work stress, car trouble. The dryer door opened again. I tripped, slammed my shin. It wasn't just the pain. It was everything that came after. He came rushing in, concern all over his face, asking if I was okay, and I snapped. "You need to start being useful, Leo, not just sweet." He didn't deserve that, but I couldn't stop the words. I think I wanted him to yell back. Make it simple, make it easier to hate him. But he didn't. He just stood there. "You only talk to me when you're mad," he said. The quiet in his voice hurt more than anything I'd said. I remember walking past him, breath shallow. I didn't even know where I was going. I just needed to move. But he followed. He didn't say anything, just walked behind me down the hall into the laundry room. When I turned to face him, he looked wrecked. "You don't have to like me," he said, "but I don't know how to be invisible here without going numb." I didn't plan what I did next. Maybe that's the scariest part. It didn't feel like a decision. It felt like a tide pulling me. I reached for him. He didn't pull away. Later, I'd sit on the couch for hours trying to understand what had just happened between us. Why I let him touch me. Why I didn't stop it. Why I didn't hate myself the way I thought I would. That night, I caught myself looking at the door to the guest room, wondering if he was awake, if he was lying there thinking about the same thing. If his hands still smelled like my skin, and what scared me most was how much I hoped they did. Let's pause here for a moment. The tension is almost unbearable. If you were in her shoes, caught between a forbidden desire and the risk of destroying your family, what would you do? If you think she should have ended it right then and there, press 1 in the comments. Your engagement helps us bring more stories like this to you. After that night, everything changed. He didn't touch me again. Not directly, but the air between us felt heavier, every movement slower. More watched. He started knocking softer on doors, standing closer when he spoke. Not enough for anyone to call it inappropriate, but enough for me to feel it in the back of my neck. I began brushing past him in the kitchen more often, accidentally, of course. When he reached up into the cupboard, and I reached for the drawer beneath. When we both bent toward the dishwasher and our hands grazed, neither of us flinched anymore. That was the change. I noticed the way he breathed when he was close, how it changed. Slower, deeper, like he was trying to keep something down. I knew that sound. I'd made it before. One night, my daughter came home late from her shift. Leo was already on the couch, headphones in, sketchpad balanced on his knee. I walked in to say goodnight, but she waved me off and went straight upstairs. He looked up when I sat down on the armrest. "I didn't mean to stay, but I didn't mean to leave either. What are you drawing?" I asked. "Nothing important." I reached for the pad. He let me take it. It was a sketch of the back hallway. The corner of the wall where the paint had peeled, the framed photo I hadn't noticed was crooked. It wasn't about the hallway, it was about the feeling. He'd captured how lonely it looked. "It's beautiful," I said. "Sad, but beautiful." He gave a faint smile. "It felt like you." My throat tightened. "Why would you say that?" He didn't answer. I gave him back the pad and stood to leave. But as I walked past him, he reached out. His fingers brushed my hand. No words. Just that. And I didn't pull away. From then on, the silence between us changed shape. It wasn't tension anymore. It was hunger held breath. Unspoken things. A week later, I found him fixing the hallway thermostat. The old one was glitching again. I stood behind him longer than I needed to, watching the muscles shift in his back as he worked. He straightened, turned around. I didn't step back. He looked at me the way he always did now, careful, warm, and trying not to shake. "I'll be out of here soon," he said. "Renovation's almost done." I nodded. "I bet you're ready to have your house back." That made something in me clench. I gave a soft laugh. "You think I want you gone?" His mouth opened slightly, but nothing came out. I reached forward, meaning to adjust the frame beside him, but my arm brushed his chest. His breath caught. I paused. We were inches apart. He looked down, then up. "You're not supposed to say things like that," he whispered. I didn't say anything. "You did." Neither of us moved. The front door opened then. My daughter's voice filled the hallway. We jumped apart. My heart slammed into my ribs so hard I thought it would bruise. I turned toward the stairs, pretending to be mid-step, my hand on the railing. "Hey, Mom," she called. I forced a smile. "Hi, baby. There's pasta on the stove." Leo walked past me with his head down. That night I replayed that moment over and over. The near kiss, the breath, the way his eyes asked a question I wasn't ready to answer. A few days later, we were alone again. My daughter had gone to her cousin's for the weekend. My husband was on a business trip. It was raining and the lights flickered twice. I found him in the laundry room. Again, this time he wasn't fixing anything, just standing there. He turned when I stepped in. "I didn't know you were home," he said. "You always find this room," I said softly. He gave a nervous smile. "So do you." I took a breath. "Are we really doing this?" He looked me in the eye. "No, but I think about it every second." Silence. Then he stepped forward. Just one step. He didn't touch me. "You look at me like I'm the one who crossed the line," he said. "But you're the one still standing here." That hurt because it was true. I closed the distance. Not all of it, just enough for his breath to warm my cheek. "If I touch you right now," he said, voice trembling, "we're not coming back from it." I didn't answer. But I didn't step away, and that was the closest we got before everything fell apart. I don't even know how the door closed behind us. One minute we were in the kitchen, both reaching for the same dish towel. The next, I was backed against the pantry cabinet, his hands gripping the wood behind me, not touching me, not yet, just close. Just burning. Neither of us spoke. My heart was so loud I thought he could hear it in the walls. He moved forward a little more. His chest brushed mine, not hard. Just enough. Enough for me to feel the rise and fall of his breath, the tight control he was barely holding together. I could have said something. I could have told him to leave, that my daughter was on her way back, that I had a husband, that we couldn't do this. But I didn't. I reached for his wrist. He froze. "Is this what you want?" I asked. His eyes searched mine like he was afraid the answer was a trap. "I've wanted this since the night you yelled at me," he said, "and I hated you for it." I didn't ask why. I knew. Because the yelling meant I saw him, because even in anger, he wasn't invisible. He kissed me then. It wasn't soft. His mouth crushed into mine like he'd been starving for it. My fingers tangled into his shirt, dragging him closer. I gasped when he pressed his hips against me, hard already, and it made my legs tremble. He pulled back just slightly, breathless. "We shouldn't," he said. "Then stop." He didn't. He lifted me, slow and sure, like he needed the feel of me wrapped around him. I felt my back hit the edge of the counter. His hand slid up my thigh under the fabric of my shorts. I shivered when his fingers found bare skin. My breath caught. "I need to hear it," he said. "Say yes." "Yes." The sound came out so low, I barely recognized my own voice. He pushed into me slowly. with a soft groan that hit me deeper than the movement itself. I held on to him like I was falling. My legs gripped his waist, my heels locking behind him. He moved again. Rhythm steady, controlled, desperate. Every motion sent heat rising under my skin. He didn't look away. He watched me. Watched my lips part, watched me struggle to stay quiet. I buried my face into his shoulder. "Please," I whispered. "Please what?" "Don't be gentle." Something broke in him then. His pace shifted, deeper, harder. Still careful, but not soft. Not anymore. His hands moved under my shirt, gripped my sides. I felt his whole body shake when I gasped again, tighter this time, wrapped fully around him and holding him in. "I'm not going to last," he said, voice raw. "I'm trying." "Don't try." I could feel him pulse, feel every part of him struggle not to give in. I pulled him closer. His mouth found my neck, kissing hard. And then he was there, deeper than before, twitching once, twice. "I'm sorry," he choked. "I didn't mean—" "Don't move," I breathed. "Let it stay." He did. He held there inside me, trembling, both of us slick with sweat and panic and something that tasted too much like relief. When he finally pulled back, he touched my cheek with both hands, like I was breakable, like I'd just given him something he didn't deserve. "I've never, with anyone," he whispered. "Don't say that." "But it's true." I stepped down off the counter slowly, my legs barely steady. "We shouldn't talk about it," I said. He nodded, but he didn't move. "Will you hate me tomorrow?" "I don't know." "Will you want it again?" I looked at him, really looked. "Yes." He reached for my hand. I let him hold it, but only for a second. Then I turned away. We had crossed the line, and we both knew there was no going back. I didn't sleep. I lay awake with the covers pulled high, still feeling the press of him inside me. My thighs tingled where he had held them. My lips felt raw from the way he kissed me, urgent and scared. I stared at the ceiling like it might hand me an answer, something to make it feel less impossible, something to make it go away. But it didn't feel like something I wanted to go away. That was the problem. The next morning, I made coffee in silence. I didn't look toward the hallway where it happened. I didn't glance at the towel on the floor he'd used to wipe his hands before he left. But I felt it. In my body, my chest. He didn't come into the kitchen. I heard his footsteps above, slow and careful, like he didn't want to be heard, like he was trying to give me space I hadn't asked for. When he finally did appear, he had changed. Same face, same voice. But something was pulled tight under his skin. "Morning," he said. I nodded. "Sleep okay?" He didn't answer right away. "Not really." We didn't look at each other. My daughter came home that evening, hugged me like nothing had happened, sat beside him at the table, and rested her head on his shoulder. He kissed her temple. I watched that moment and felt something inside me recoil. I had taken something from her. Even if she never found out, I'd taken something. The next few days passed in fragments, polite smiles, light footsteps, long glances when no one was looking. The silence between us wasn't clean anymore. It was soaked with memory, with need. He brushed against me in the hallway. I stepped aside too slowly. His fingers grazed my wrist. We didn't speak. That night he texted me, "I still feel you. I don't know what to do with that." I didn't respond, but I didn't delete it either. It only took 5 days before it happened again. My husband was away on business. My daughter was staying with a friend for a bridal shower planning session. The house was quiet. He found me in the laundry room again. He didn't speak. He just stepped in behind me, and I let him. This time it was rougher, faster, like we both hated how much we needed it. His hands clutched the sides of my shirt. My teeth pressed into his shoulder. I whispered, "Don't stop," before he'd even fully entered. I shouldn't have said it, but I meant it. We didn't make it to the counter this time. It was up against the wall, clothes still halfway on, the sound of breath and guilt bouncing off tile. When we were done, we stood there, both of us flushed and dizzy. "I can't keep doing this," he said. "You already are," I whispered. He touched my face gently, then dropped his hand before I could lean into it. Later that night, I sat on the back porch with a glass of wine and watched the dark. Every creak of the floorboards inside made my stomach twist. I was starting to forget who I was pretending to be. My husband called. I let it ring. My daughter texted a photo of her dress fitting. I stared at it too long. Then came the close call. We were in the kitchen, daylight, the fridge door open. I leaned down to grab something, and he came up behind me without thinking, his hand pressed to my waist. Instinct, muscle memory. I gasped. He stepped back like he'd been shocked. My daughter turned the corner a second later. "What's going on?" she asked. I dropped the bag of spinach on the counter. "Nothing. Just slipped." She glanced between us, confused, but let it go. I didn't breathe again until she left the room. He didn't come near me the rest of the day. That night, I sent him a message. "We have to stop," he replied. "You don't want that. And neither do I." I threw my phone across the bed and buried my face into my pillow. We were drowning, slowly, silently. But neither of us swam away. "We can't keep doing this. Someone's going to find out." I thought it would be my daughter who found out. That was the fear that curled in my stomach every time she looked at me too long or asked why I seemed distracted. I rehearsed excuses in the mirror. I had a list of lies I never wanted to use, but kept ready anyway. But it wasn't her. It was my husband. He came home early from a business trip. No warning, just the sound of the garage door rumbling open while I was still in bed, tangled in a robe I hadn't even bothered to tie shut. Leo had already left that morning. Quietly, like he always did after nights we didn't speak about. I didn't even hear my husband walk into the room until I turned and saw him standing by the dresser. His eyes on my phone, still lit up with a text I hadn't read yet, from Leo. "I can still taste you." "I'm not sorry." He looked at me. No yelling, no rage. Just something hollow. The kind of silence that says it's already too late to explain anything. I sat up slowly. Tried to speak, but there was nothing to say that wouldn't make it worse. He put the phone down on the nightstand. "You're sleeping with him," he said. It wasn't a question. I nodded. It was the first time I admitted it out loud. He exhaled, not like a sigh, more like someone had finally let the air out of a balloon that had been inflated too long. He walked out of the room. That night, he didn't come home. The next day, Leo was gone. No goodbye, no knock on the door, just a folded note on the entry table. I didn't want to destroy anything. I just didn't know how to stay silent. There was a key taped to the bottom, the one to the guest room. The one I'd once given him without thinking. I held it in my palm for a long time. My daughter asked if he left because of her. Said she'd sensed him drifting lately, that maybe he wasn't ready for marriage. I let her believe it. Because the truth would wreck her, and I'd already taken enough. Weeks passed. My husband came home only to sleep. We didn't talk, didn't fight, didn't even pretend, just moved around each other like furniture. Sometimes I caught him looking at me with that same quiet, the kind that doesn't ask why anymore. The hardest part wasn't losing them, it was losing who I thought I was. I didn't cheat for excitement. I didn't fall into Leo because I was weak. I fell because he looked at me like I still existed. Because he touched me like I mattered. And because for one brief moment, I wasn't just someone's mother or someone's wife. I was a woman. The kind who whispered yes when she wasn't supposed to. The kind who wrapped around the wrong man and said stay. The kind who didn't stop him when he pushed too far. I crossed a line I can't uncross. But for one night, I felt like a woman again. And that's where her story leaves us, in the quiet aftermath of a decision that changed everything. This story isn't just about infidelity. It's a painful exploration of what can happen when a person feels invisible in their own life. It's a stark reminder that seeking validation can sometimes lead us down a path of irreparable damage, hurting the ones we love most. What are your final thoughts? If this story moved you or made you think, press 1 in the comments. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next story.